This week on the Baseline Podcast, Josh and I discuss a couple championship victories for local teams. Well, my team here in Budapest, Hungary, we won a Division II championship. We're also going to talk about how the Reds pretty much dominated the Guardians. And then finally, we're going to talk about some AFC North news and what has happened in the NBA Finals. All that and so much more coming up on the Baseline Podcast. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben. That's Josh. And we are already almost halfway through June, which is weird. It's kind of crazy. Birthday was last week. Was awesome. But Josh, I would say I had a pretty good birthday weekend, is what I would say, Josh.
Is that your Cincinnati Reds Ohio Cup?
You know, it could be. It could be. I mean, we'll get to that because there's a whole bunch of scenario there. But no, this is it's in Hungarian, but this is the Division II championship trophy we won on Saturday, which was awesome. Especially because some of these guys I've coached for a couple of years, and we've won before this year. The second team had won one game in 2 years, so for us to win the championship was fun. So this is the trophy. I can tell you, it's very spectacular. It's all real gold, obviously. You know,
Shiny enough.
It is shiny enough, yeah. So yeah, thoughts on the trophy, Josh, and then how was your weekend?
Definitely is a nice one. Is there any inscription on the bottom? It's in Hungarian, you said?
Yeah, so this just says I don't focus there. This is basically Division II champions is what this
Okay.
word means, champions. And then it's so funny that they did not decide to take off the tags of the actual company on the bottom.
That's funny, yeah.
But then this is just an empty this is like metal, and then we have like plastic parts. But it's awesome. Like you guys will see some pictures. I'll share some pictures as well at some
I
point. But
see.
yeah, it's I got a Gatorade bath. So I now know what that feels like. This is the first time I've ever won a trophy in any of the sport at any time, coaching or playing. So they soaked me with Gatorade, which I can tell you, I should not have wore tan pants because it looks like I peed myself. But
Well,
no,
you
no,
and every other football coach do
I
that.
know, I
They
know, it was
all got
great.
the
Yeah.
khakis on the sidelines, yeah.
So, but yeah, that was my weekend, man. I made the birthday weekend, I think, a little bit extra special. So thanks again, guys. I know some of you listened, so it's the players. This is just here because I don't know what you guys would do with it, so I figured I probably should keep it safe. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's how my weekend went, Josh.
Sick, man. My weekend, this was my weekend to work, but I did get to watch at least one of the games of the NBA Finals. I don't know how many of our listeners are familiar with Ohio Bike Week. You
I've heard
being
of
an
it. Yeah,
Ohio native
yeah, I
Ben, have you
know
heard
it.
of
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Where they ride the bikes like, from like one point to the other. They go because they go down near my place too, I believe.
I don't know if we're thinking the same bikes. I'm talking motorcycles up
No,
at
there's
Sandusky,
there's
Ohio.
multiple, but there's multiple. There's like motorcycle ones that go through the whole state of Ohio. There's bicycles that go through the whole state of Ohio, and then there's motorcycles
Okay.
that are in certain spots. So
Well, at
I've been
least
up all of them.
Sandusky, Ohio's Ohio Bike Week. We have motorcycles, biker guys and gals from all around come and hang out in our city. They put on a concert every year, and this year they had Saliva and Hinder play the
Oh,
concert. If you guys like later 90s, early 2000s rock like me, you know who those groups are. Went over there for the first time and watched the show. It's free. So it's like, hey, that's about as good as a free concert can get.
yeah,
But yeah, we've had really some solid summer weather too, like mid 70s. It's been a really
yeah.
good weekend over here too, as
It was great
far as
until
that goes.
Saturday was awesome. It was stupid hot, and we were our sideline was in the middle of the sun while they had a tree line, so it was like 88 degrees, and then the next day it was like 68 degrees. I'm like, are you serious? Like you just decided just to? I was like, okay, Lord. But yeah, dude, that's fun though. It's a good way to spend the weekend. Also, I didn't show you, but we also get a gold medal. It's funny because the other one that I got last year for finishing second in the HFL, so the top league. This is obviously the third league. But the
Hmm.
top league, that one has become a coaster over beyond here. So because I
Wow.
hate the second place so much. So, but anyways, so yeah, this is also what I got for winning it, and
Awesome.
it was amazing. So, anyways, that was if you do want to watch it, let me know. There is for anyone that wants to watch the game, there's a stream replay which you could see the epic fourth and inches call that I called because of course everyone in fourth and inches would say, "Hey, let's go fullback dive, right? Tush push." No, Coach Ben, as an offense coordinator, decides to go, let's go slant arrow concept. Let's hit a slant to a guy, by the way, who had not been in the game all game in the fourth quarter. The whole game he hadn't played. I had to put him in because of an injury, and he scores a 60-yard touchdown, and then tells us afterwards, "Hey, I'm retiring." I'm like, you know what? That's one way to go out, man. That's 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 the way you got to go out. So
What's with these plays, man? Last week it was a safety that's never played wide receiver, just runs a
I
go
know,
route and gets a
dude.
58-yard
It
touchdown or
is
whatever.
it is wild. Just what happens in European football, man. American
I was
football.
waiting for you to put like a 300-pound defensive tackle in a quarterback to do the quarterback sneak when
I
quarterback's like, I'm only 140 pounds. I don't think it's going to
I was
work.
tempted to put our big tight end in, but also we have a defensive lineman who's about 6'3". He probably weighs about 408 pounds. He's a massive human. You can't really move him, so that's kind of the way it is. But yeah, but other than becoming a champion, which is the first time in my life that I've ever become a champion in sports. So actually, I take that back. Flag football at Cedarville University, intramural champion. Take that back.
Hmm.
But as a coach, that really matters.
Did
So
you
yeah.
ever get a win in the Lawler versus the Hill?
Yes, I was a part of all the four wins. Well, technically, I was in Lawler for 3 years, but I count the fourth year because I coached my fourth year when I was in the townhouse. So technically, I've won all 4 years. Yes.
Got it.
So I don't really count those there because I didn't really play because of basketball. I couldn't play because obviously, because of my schedule. So I was always helping out. So I don't really count it because it's just like I was not really participating. So again, this is
Sure.
like the first one I had control of. So, but yeah, and I think that's a great segue because you mentioned earlier into the old Ohio Cup, which
The
Josh,
first
I
time the
thought
Cincinnati Reds have secured an Ohio Cup since 2014.
I,
It's
I
been a
thought
long time coming.
Josh, I thought that like you guys knew how to like hit and pitch and base run. I thought that was the Reds thing that like you screw up. I thought that was like the Reds way of screwing up because that's just normally how we play. And it just seems like the Guardians and Reds just like switch teams for yesterday's game.
Dude, honestly, I think at like both team ceilings, your guys' roster is way better than ours. It's just like young and inconsistent. But this Cleveland season's just been like up and down and weird. And fans starting to turn on Stephen Vogt. He's been dedicated to like lefty righty matchups to the point where he's playing John Kenzie Noel, hitting righty against lefties, even though he's only batting like 150 against lefties and does way better against righties. Kyle Manzardo's not even playing today, didn't play yesterday because the Reds are just throwing out a bunch of lefty starters, keeping him on the bench. And we finally demoted Noel, actually. That was a move that finally needed to be done. Jonathan Rodriguez, one of our better prospects, is up now, but just and David Fry is activated, so that's
Or
creating
were they
like
like, or they even said like Luis Ortiz is having a great year. I'm like, dude, his ERA is like 470. I was like your announcer's
yeah, it
what
was
are you
like
talking about?
it was one of those things where it's like he had a really bad start in April, and then May looked like he might have figured some
Yeah,
things
but
out. I
still.
wasn't totally convinced just yet, but yeah, now that Fry's back, we got that cluster of Fry, Santana, Manzardo, these guys that can't play defense, but
It's
all
so
need to
true. So
DH,
like
and there's only
Santana
two
was it
spots they can go.
yesterday? Santana went to scoop a ball and just like airmailed it. He like he like scooped it. I think it was Stevenson running down the line. Which, by the way, Stevenson's like the slowest human ever, and he beats out it was an infield single or something. I can't remember what it was. But Santana went to scoop it and like fell over. I was like, dude, like, why is he playing first base? Is my question.
Yes, it's again, it's like we're right now, David Fry, he cannot throw at all because of the elbow, but
Yeah.
he can hit. It's kind of like a Shohei Ohtani situation. So Fry's normally a utility guy. We could put him anywhere in the field if we needed to, but for the time being, we're just taking advantage of his bat. He can only hit, I think, this
And
year.
also TJ Friedel, by the way, for the Reds, is like I told you when we did our All-Star, he's literally the most consistent Red out there, man. Dude, he's hitting like 298. He hit another home run, which the dude has no power. I don't know what's happening, but it's weird. That's why I'm saying the Reds and Guardians have like switched teams because the Reds have guys kind of Friedel kind of reminds me of Steven Kwan, a guy who's going to hit for average. He's going to get on base. He's going to do that kind of stuff. You have De La Cruz, who's kind of like the all-star, kind of like what Ramirez. It's not that level, but it just feels weird to see the Guardians struggling in every category. Like I don't see them doing anything good right now, and that's coming from a very non-biased perspective, just like watching the game. Like I was watching the Reds, I'm like, dude, this Reds team looks like at least they know what they're trying to do. I don't know what the Guardians were doing. Like they're throwing guys out there to pitch. I'm like, why is this guy coming in the game? I'm very confused, and the hitting lineup didn't really make sense. I don't know. It just felt a little off from when I was watching the game over this morning.
Yeah, there doesn't really seem to be a plan or any consistency. Like I said, the lineup changes all the time. It's very dependent on if the starter's a lefty or righty. We got all these, I guess,
But
platoon
it's
bats.
modern
Not
day,
really many
man. It's
rockhead
modern day.
starters.
Like you let
Well,
the guy face lefties, like
you could argue that that's the modern day move is like, let's make the best matchup possible. If Manzaro can't hit
because like
lefties, then
De La
he literally
Cruz,
will never
I
face
I
lefties.
wish De La Cruz would like not hit right-handed because he sucks, but it's like let
Hmm.
him do what he's got to do, Which also I don't understand why teams don't put a lefty on him every single time in the bullpen. Like it's ironic to me because most of his home runs comes off like bullpen relievers. Like why would you not throw a freaking lefty in there because he can't hit right-handed? Um, but no, I look at this series, man. Like the Ohio Cup you mentioned earlier, it's the first time since 2014. Like I feel like the Reds, I feel like the series has always been competitive. I feel like it's always been like a
There's been
five to
some ties in
two,
there.
like 5-2, 4-2. Like it's been close. I feel like this is the first time I've seen the Reds like have we finally etched above the Guardians? Is it slowly starting to shift the weight of maybe the Reds are starting to figure out at least the rivalry, but also in general I think we're seeing the Reds start figuring out like, okay, there's certain guys we cannot play on an everyday basis. Like I said, Matt McClain should be going down the AAA and figuring stuff out, right?
Hmm.
CES finally came back. He seems like he's got the spark. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I don't like the Wade Miley signing. I think it's the dumbest thing they've done because like yeah, he had a good game, but like I hate it because I know Hunter Green, like he's getting another MRI in Los Angeles, which to me says that he's probably done for the year, or if not done for the year, done for like 2 or 3 months, which really hurts because the Reds truly don't have a number two. Like they have a lot of
Hmm.
like threes, fours, fives. They do not have a number two. So I think if they're competitive up to the deadline, you're going to see the Reds go out and get someone. Um, I would love to make them make a blockbuster move, but I don't know if it's going to happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just an interesting time for both teams. I think, and they're about the same record too. So
Like I said, I don't really know what Cleveland's plan is right now.
they don't have a
As
play. They look so chaotic when they're out there.
this
Like,
whole season, like we should have been building on the ALCS appearance
but they
last year. We should have
didn't.
been more aggressive in the offseason, but they were too content. And I mean, it's showing. Right now, we are third in the division at 34 and 31, and Detroit's got 8 games on us compared to Cincinnati. I mean, you guys are fourth at in your division at 34 and 33, but you're just 6.5 back of Chicago for first place. So it's not
And on a
like,
4 game winning streak, like on a roll.
yeah, like neither team has like a lost season at this point by any means, but you kind of just see the writing on the wall in Cleveland. Like this is what I expected to happen,
And
and I
you
don't know
did
what
say
the
in June, you said wait until June. That's what you told me a few months ago. You said wait until June, see
wait
what
till June
happens.
because like it's like okay, we that's usually when we really get to see the real version of Cleveland, whether it's because we start slow and then figure it out by June and heat up, or uh, in the case of like the last or two of the last few years, I think that we did start off fast, but and then actually
Yeah.
continue to maintain that. But right now, it's just like okay, we should call up some guys and see what they can do. Like they got
Oh
Jonathan
yeah.
Rodriguez up here finally. He's had like a 900 OPS in AAA. Waiting for the call up for Chase DeLauder to come up. Finally sent John Kenzie Noel down. Like I said, that needed to happen. But I don't know if they're gonna. Well, I know they're not gonna do anything at the deadline outside of get maybe just another average bat. But we need to figure out that outfield because again, it's like I think Jose Ramirez has a 35 game streak of getting on base right now. I don't know if that snapped yet in the Cincinnati series, but
And they
it's been the lone bright
well,
spot, and then Stephen Kwan, and then it's been basically everybody else.
then you look at like the Royals. They bring up Jack Caglianone, who is tearing the ball off
Oh
in
yeah,
AAA. Then you bring
Caglione
up
goes four
then
for
you,
four.
then you bring up you look at the Red Sox. They're bringing up their young studs. Like their outfield is like all like 22 years old, right? And like the Reds are slowly bringing up their guys. And like I feel like the Guardians are it's kind of in the same spot as the Pirates, where they're like they want to play their young guys, but they want to save enough years, or they want to angle it a certain way. And it's like, look,
Save enough years, or they're waiting for like a veteran to like
yeah,
figure it
because
out,
I
and it's
always
just I don't see it
because
happening.
I've always rooted for the Guardians. Like when the Reds are done in the playoffs, I've always rooted for the Guardians if they're still in. Like that's just kind of the way I am because I'm a Cleveland fan and other sports, and so it's just really frustrating because it's like as I have a lot of friends that are Guardian fans and like you, and it's like I hear like the agony out of some of your guys' voices because it's like you guys have been so close, that you think back to years ago in the Chicago World Series and you think about now, it's like last year, and it's like you were so close, and yet it's like it feels like the decisions made before the season is what's hindered at the end of the season for the Guardians. And I feel like that's in both cases, that's the what happened. And it's ironically, it's just kind of Cleveland way, I feel like in sports. And I unfortunately, I feel like that's kind of what's happening.
They traded away Josh Naylor because they said we had a log jam at first base DH with we couldn't
And now you have
possibly fit
nothing.
both. We couldn't possibly fit all David Fry, all Kyle Manzardo, and all Josh Naylor together. One of them had to go, and now we're in the same boat right now since Fry can't field. He's a DH or a first base at best, and then they signed Carlos Santana, and then they won't even let Manzardo hit lefties. And I think he's been in right field before, but uh, again, they're getting Rodriguez, I think some reps out there, and you want him to be able to come up and get a shot because of how he's been mashing at AAA. But it's just like, yeah, I don't know where these guys all fit. It's like a mid-off at a lot of those positions anyway. To me, it doesn't even like make a difference whether it's this guy or that guy because they're gonna probably play pretty similarly. But yeah, this Cleveland team right now doesn't really have a full-on identity, and I don't expect it to really get much better. And I don't anticipate really any moves as far as trades. We'll see if they do any more prospect calling up if they do get a Chase DeLauder called up here.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
that's
like,
kind of what the Cleveland season looks like
yeah,
right now.
I mean, look at the Reds, like Chase Burns. Like, I think pitching, if Hunter Green's out, I say, what the heck? Bring up Chase Burns. He was the number 2 overall draft pick last year, or number 3. He dominated high single A, and then double A. He dominated in like 4 starts, barely get any runs. Now he's pitching really well in triple A. Like, I'm like, dude, give him the shot, man, because pitching right now is just outside of Abbott is like 0 for the Reds. So, yeah, I'll be interested to see what they do. I mean, their bullpen's been decent, but yeah, it's typical Ohio baseball. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think that's a good place to stop for baseball.
Yeah. I was just going to throw out this stat that I saw that as far as the
Yeah,
state of baseball goes, the New York Red Sox series over the weekend, viewers tuned into Baseball Night in America's 2-game slate, highlighted by the Red Sox win over the New York Yankees on Fox Sports, and it was the most, or MLB's most watched regular season telecast on any network since September of
that's
2022.
wild. That's wild.
Yeah, for regular season baseball, gotta love it. Uh, and I'm going to use that ratings stat right there to transition into the NBA Finals, which kicked off this
Oh gosh,
this
it's
past
awful.
week too
Oh,
with
it's so awful.
I think it was
It's
8.9
terrible to
million views
watch.
for game one, which was the lowest game one viewership, excluding COVID affected NBA Finals since Nielsen started coming out with the statistics.
It is not because of the teams. It's because of the way they presented the finals. That's
It's
honestly what
it's
I
it was
believe.
a very bad presentation. There was no
The
national anthem,
floor,
I
the
believe.
floor's not
The
even
floor had
there.
no
No,
logos at all.
nothing. Eh,
I guess they like got enough criticism because then the NBA did like that digital
which it looks
NBA
terrible,
Finals
which looks
logo, but even
awful.
even that one couldn't even be without a presented by YouTube TV paid partnerships. Like, come on, guys. Like we used to have such cool Larry O'Brien trophies at center court or on the sides. You
Oh,
see like legendary photos of Kobe Bryant or Michael
you
Jordan
get Boston.
on top of a logo or finals like presentation. You get the insane like intros broadcasts out, but it was like the most regular season broadcast NBA Finals game I think I've ever watched, Ben. And
It,
and that was
eh,
just it was poor presentation. It didn't do the game justice because I mean it ended up being a heck of a game one to
no, I
watch, but
yeah, but it
they
just
did a
it,
terrible job presenting that. And it goes to like what we've talked about with NBA media being terrible
dude, it's
at
the worst.
just doing their
It's
job
the
and
worst
promoting the
media in
sport.
sports.
Yeah.
It's the worst media in sports. It's not even close. Like baseball, like even the NFL, which we criticize quite a bit, is better than the freaking NBA media
They
because
love their sport. They do all they can
they
to
just.
promote the stars, promote the teams, the league.
I just think that the NBA just like, look, I get it. You need to make money, but like you're taking the joy away from it. And like that's what I love about like I'm gonna use a video game reference. Like college football 26 is about to come out. And they did this like showcase, and the one thing they said was that Madden is changing. Why? Because people have been criticizing Madden for like the last 10 years because it's the same game. No, nothing changes. It gets worse.
And they got all the
And
licensing rights, so no one can
and
even come out with a
yeah,
competing game.
and so what's funny is that because of how well college football did last year and the changes they made to the video game, which every fan loved, now Madden is taking that and saying, "Oh, well, why didn't we think of this?" It's like, well, because you haven't cared. And I think it's the same thing with the NBA. Like, they know what it takes to actually have a good product. I just think generally they just don't care. It's hard for me to sit here and go, the NBA cares about their fan base because if you did, you know what we want. We just want normality. That's what we want. We want what we've always loved, which is watching the game. And again, people are going to say, well, it's because of the teams. No, it's not. It's not.
I feel like maybe it contributes a little
But
bit. but I think
That's a
there's more to
stretch
it than just
to
that.
me personally. I
Well,
just
it's
think
like when you get the teams like, your Golden State Warriors or your Los Angeles Lakers or your Boston Celtics or your New York Knicks, you're going to draw a lot of casuals
yeah,
that just want to watch like that team or they live in those cities, so they're going to watch or something like that.
yeah.
And then it's like if you got Pacers and Thunder, that's like for the basketball fans, like the actual
Yeah.
basketball fans
No,
that
I
love the
agree with you.
game.
No, I agree with you on that. I think it's just I guess like the presentation just really I guess showed the effort. It's like as a teacher, right? If I give an assignment to a student, a project specifically, and they come back with just like a piece of notebook paper and they drew the mountains of the Himalayas, right? But they didn't put any design to it. It just shows me that you didn't really care. You didn't try to put forth the effort. And I think that's what I think annoys people is that like you didn't even like then afterwards someone criticized you instead of actually going back and doing the right thing, you decided just to throw up like visual screen things, which is like going back to your paper and just scribbling red paint on it, right? So that's
Yeah.
what I think I'm frustrated with.
Yeah. I don't want to harp too much on the presentation. I wanted to lead with that though, because it wasn't too shocking to
No,
see that.
yeah.
But as far as game one went itself, man, I
It was
mean,
good. It was a good game.
it was a good game. That was the first time I'd seen Oklahoma City play this year. I got to see the Pacers a few times against the Cavs, and let me tell you, Ben, that defense that the Thunder were playing that game was just smothering. Like they were so
Yeah.
quick on their switches. They weren't letting
They're
anybody
so
on
lanky,
Indiana
man.
breathe.
So
And it was just like
lanky.
anytime Indiana would hit a shot, it felt like it was, they had to
They earned
gas
it.
themselves to
Yeah.
get that shot. Like it was earned. And because of that, they were down, I think, by like double digits for a
Yeah.
lot of the first half. But um, obviously, Indiana makes the insane comeback though at the end. It's like, man, I feel like in some ways that I mean they totally earned that win. So don't mishear me, but I think they stole one from OKC right there.
Oh,
I think
100%.
OKC if they can just keep playing defense like that, like
I'm not
nine or
worried. I
eight
don't think
times out of
yeah.
10, they're gonna get the thing done. But I mean that all the credit to Indiana for getting that game done. Like Halliburton put the team on his
Yeah.
back, got some more clutch moments right there, and I mean Indiana took that one. But we saw in the second game, I mean OKC, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, got in the business too and tied
I
up at
think
least 1-1 right now
I think
before going back to Indy.
what's the old saying, Josh, about like you can't rely on like the same thing over and over again, right? And I think the Pacers have been winning these games in the playoffs by coming back and beating teams when they're
Coming
down
back,
15 or
edging out
20.
close games,
You
hitting
can
clutch
only do that.
shots.
You can only do that so long before it catches up with you. And I think we might be starting to see maybe that it's catching up with them because, and there's been analysts that I really love watching that, on non-network TVs that just say, the Pacers are playing with fire, right? They're lighting everything and being okay with it being on fire. And then when they need to put it out, they put it out. But it's like OKC is not a team that you're going to be able to pull this twice on. And I think that's going to be the problem they're going to run into.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they can definitely maybe win another game going that route, but like I said, I think that this is the Thunder series to win right here, and we'll
Oh
see
yeah.
if I guess the youth and experience on their end ends up hurting them. But at least I'm seeing the energy, I'm seeing the fire over there on that side. So we will be going ahead and getting game three. Uh, we're recording today on Tuesday, so game three will be on Wednesday over at Indiana, and we'll see what happens over there. Uh, NHL Stanley Cup is also happening right now, Ben. We
Yeah.
just had game three, I think it was, had 140 penalty minutes.
That's a lot of
So
penalty minutes.
it was a lot of penalty minutes. Very physical game that ended with Florida coming out with a 6-1 lead. They lead the series 2-1 right now. That was after Oilers got things kicked off last week with a 4-3 win in overtime. But then Florida followed up with a hard-fought 5-4 double overtime win. And then they just absolutely beat the brakes off of Edmonton in that game three, 6-1. I don't know if that's an indication that like maybe Edmonton's running out of steam right here. But I mean, it's still early to say. Like it's just two to
Oh yeah.
one, but very, very different game three than what we saw from the first two games. I'll just say that.
No, I agree. And I think, sometimes I'll be walking by bars here and like they'll have hockey on the Stanley Cup, and I think it's just really funny. Um, it just like it's just the one sport I would not expect to be on in a bar. But at least in Hungary. But no, I for some reason like I've actually enjoyed watching some Stanley Cup highlights compared to the NBA highlights, and maybe it's just because I'm stuck on this presentation thing. But yeah, I mean it's dude, it's gonna be a competitive series. Like I feel like they're more fun to watch instead of like the 4-0 sweeps in the finals. Like it never is fun. So
Yeah,
I think
you
it's
like
gonna
a
be a good
six game
series.
series, and I mean even
Yeah.
for like going to the NBA, like you can do a lot of I guess healing on your ratings if you go to like game 6 or 7 because those
Oh yeah.
tend to be all like tuned in by the masses.
Yeah, for sure.
But as far as Stanley Cup goes, game 4 is tonight in Florida. We'll see if they can go ahead and go up 3-1, or if Edmonton can get back on their feet and tie it up and make it a series again.
It'll be interesting to see. I don't know. That's warm weather, man. Warm weather hockey. It does something to people.
Down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Yes, sir. Uh, Football scene also had a couple moves that affect us close to home.
Yes.
We'll go ahead and start with the one in Cleveland, which is we all figured that Nick Chubb would be moving on based
We
on
hoped. We had hope. Small hope.
maybe a little bit of hope. But when you see they draft not only Quinshon Judkins but also Dylan Sampson, you're like,
You
okay,
kind
this
of
is
knew. Yeah.
officially changing of the guard. This is the new running back room, and they're not gonna bring Nick Chubb back. But yeah, Nick Chubb went ahead and passed his physical, so you'd guess that that knee is good to go again. And playing with the Houston Texans now, Ben. I saw him at camp today with the 21 jersey on, and it's different to see. It's one that's like, dang, I hate moving on. I wish that we could have worked something out, but a lot of good
I
memories
also
for
get it.
sure from
Yeah.
Nick Chubb. But I get it too. Like
Yeah. He's
I'm
getting old.
excited for the change with Judkins and Sampson to see how it gets done. But you hate I guess to have you always hate to have somebody that's
I
like
hate that it went
a
out
local
this
legend
way.
like that to end like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Like
hate that.
you want to see them retire all
Yeah.
in one with one team,
Well, I would
ideally.
even say like I don't even if he wouldn't have retired as a Brown, like I would have loved to see like his last game, like his last season be like, oh, he ran for 1,200 yards and then, he goes off, and goes somewhere else. Like I think that we always knew there was a point where I think the Browns would go, is the age worth the value? Right? Like even with Derrick Henry, I feel like a lot of teams have just been so hesitant to even go after him because when you get your 30s as a running back, you've taken a lot of pounding. If you've been a running
And
back
when you're
since
a
you were,
powerful, like
yeah,
physical runner like Henry, I mean, all the more.
yeah, and it's the same with Chubb. Like he's had multiple knee surgeries. He's been banged up before. He's been a running back probably since he was 12 or 13. So you're talking almost 15, 16, 17 years of getting hit. Um, Look, if there's any place that I'm glad he went to, it was the Houston Texans. Just as a CJ Stroud fan, I think it's gonna be perfect for them. Gives you a balance. And like, look, I hope for a resurgence for him. I hope he bounces back. Now it's gonna suck because in the AFC, which means we're gonna have to see him occasionally, and also just see him dominate would just be annoying. Especially if for some reason, which I don't believe this, but if let's say Judkins and all these different running backs they have on the roster just don't they fizzle out, then that's when it's going to get frustrating. Especially if he has a year this year where he runs for 900 to 1,000 yards, and we don't get a lot of production. Then you're going to start questioning it. But at the end of the day, Judkins is only 21 years old, whereas Chubb was getting pushing 30.
Yeah,
I get the
29 right
move.
now.
I get the move. And it sucks. I love the little video they did, the tribute that the Browns did, which I thought was very awesome. It was very honoring to him. And I truly believe down inside, Chubb really does love Cleveland. We've known that he's always wanted to retire as a Brown. We knew that he always wanted to finish his career out. But I think he also knew like that injury, I think if he doesn't get injured, he's still here and we don't draft Judkins. But I think with that injury, I think it was kind of that way. I think the Browns feel they could separate, but also maybe he could feel like he could separate and challenge himself. And now he's got a new home.
Yeah, last year the injury shortened season, but even still, he didn't look like himself in those
No,
games, and you can debate whether that was the offensive line or not having a pass game to, I guess,
yeah, but
deflect from the run game or
even when he was
whatnot.
catching
But
passes, he wasn't explosive.
yeah,
You know.
favorite Nick Chubb memory in Cleveland, Ben? Do you have one?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I would say I don't remember how long it was or who was it against the Raiders. It was his rookie year. It might have been against the Ravens, I think. His rookie year, he broke off a huge run. And I remember listening to it on the radio in the car. And it was a huge run. I can't remember who it was against, but huge run for a touchdown. And I remember like just you could almost hear the fans like oohing and awing like at this guy who was a second round pick again, wasn't maybe necessarily no one really expected to have the impact he did. Um, that was probably my favorite. I guess the second favorite would be is going to sound really cliche, so these kind of go together. Is just like the barehanded Nick Chubb look that he brought to every game, where he would like wear no gloves in the rain or the snow and just be a freaking bulldozer. Like that for me was like that's the Nick Chubb I remember. It's just like an old school running back. But honestly, my favorite moment is just in his rookie year when he had that couple big runs, but it's specifically that one that I remember just everyone going nuts over. I believe you see it
Hmm.
in the actual thing itself. What about you?
Yeah, I'm trying to look up exactly the date, but it was just, I guess it was really like his breakout game as a rookie, uh, where up to that point he had been a backup, would get some spot situations, but the yards per carry was also really nice. And I can't find the exact game, but it's just like he got a lot more carries in this one. He was
Yeah.
totally taking advantage of it, just long run after long run after long run, and
But I even think like for me, it's the person he is though too, Josh. Is he's such a down to earth person, and I think you don't. That's so rare in the NFL now to have a guy that just like all he really cares about is his teammates, and like yeah, obviously he wants to succeed and he wants the best for himself, but he truly looks like he just cares about everyone. So to me, that's what I also like. If I think of Nick Chubb, that's what I think of. It's just a guy that really cared about the Browns community in general.
yeah, man, I'm gonna see if I can find this if it doesn't take too long to try to go ahead and find it. But yeah, can say a lot of good things about Nick Chubb. I'm also seeing the jokes that Andrew Berry must have some kind of a secret deal with the Houston Texans because of how much he just like continues to help that franchise over and
I
over and over
know
again.
it's it is kind of concerning in some cases.
Yeah. Oh well, you guys, if you're a Browns fan, you can
Yeah, let us
remember
know. Yeah, let us
the
know.
day. But tell me too, like your favorite Nick Chubb memories in Cleveland, because
Oh,
it's
good
gonna
old
be one of the
Nicky.
better Cleveland running backs of all time.
I mean,
With this
he's
franchise.
I put him in the top. I mean, is it bad to say he's a top two running back in Cleveland Browns franchise history?
Only Jim Brown better.
I That's the only one I see that's better. I mean, I can't think of a guy that for a 6 7 year stretch was that good for that long, producing the way he produced and the way he ran the ball. For me, I think it goes Brown obviously is way above everyone else, and then there's Nick Chubb at two.
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody that I could put above him.
You might
Um,
have some old heads bring up Marion Motley. You might have
yeah,
some bring up Leroy
yeah,
Kelly, but
but still, that not the longevity that was brought with that.
yeah,
At least in my opinion.
yeah, I would say safely Nick Chubb top three. But I think I would go with second, just behind Jim Brown.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Trent Richardson's probably third or fourth for
Right.
sure. You know,
Got to throw Lee Suggs in the mix somewhere.
yeah. Like Trent Richardson just did an amazing job when we drafted him third overall and spent such amazing draft capital on a guy who absolutely was trash. Um,
And then
Still
Peyton
frustrating.
Hillis, the lone Cleveland Brown on the Madden cover.
Which honestly, if he would have produced that way, it wouldn't have been amazing to have like a white running back just freaking dominate the league. It'd just been
Yeah,
hilarious.
like how Christian McCaffrey does, but just in like
It's just a
Mike
bulk
Allstott
form.
fashion,
Yeah,
just bullying and physicality and yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
Well, another legend of the game is moving on to another franchise too, and that, of course, is also in our AFC North division. Aaron Rodgers, Ben, gonna play
Oh,
at least
joyous.
another season. I guess he felt like, coming back, but Pittsburgh Steelers go ahead and make it official that Aaron Rodgers will be their quarterback this season. Very odd, I think,
Just a
for
weird
a couple
spot.
reasons, but the prophecy following Brett Favre's footsteps of ending up in Minnesota, obviously not fulfilled. So all saddened by that. But in seriousness, initial thoughts on Aaron Rodgers joining the quarterback group
I
in our division.
I d- I don't know. Like, I guess it could be good, but I feel like he's washed up. He's definitely not the same. Okay, not washed up because I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that, but he's definitely not the same Aaron Rodgers. Like I don't I don't think he's gonna ever be at that level again. Now, do I think he's gonna help the Steelers? I mean, yeah, he's probably better than Mitch Trubisky or Will Howard as much as I love Will Howard. To me, I don't think he fits culturally because he's a very outspoken guy. I don't really know if he fits that culture. Um, at this point, I'm like, why don't you just stay with Russell Wilson, or get Fields? Like I feel like at that point, but the end of the day, like I think he does fit in the sense of like this division. I think he fits that kind of like the hard hitting division it is. Like I think he's going to hold up fine. We'll just see how good they are in the long run.
Yeah, I thought that too initially. Pittsburgh's very much let's keep it in house. It's about the team, and they do away with guys that make it about themselves. We just seen them trade Pickens. We've seen them move on from guys like Chase Claypool, among others. But that was the first thing I thought. Yeah, but secondly, it's just when is Pittsburgh gonna like finally be able to move on from Ben Roethlisberger?
They're
We've talked
not.
about this. We've talked about this with the Saints. Like ever since Drew Brees retired, they've been like scrambling, throwing all these different guys in at quarterback, and the aftermath of Ben has been like Mason Rudolph and Mitchell Trubisky and Kenny Pickett and Justin Fields and Russell Wilson and like all these like rentals and
While
like
Ben's
1 year
sitting back and
deals
making a
and
podcast, just chilling.
yeah. Exactly. And Will Howard, I mean, you mentioned his name. That's a 6th round pick that you're not expecting to be any kind of like savior long-term solution. Definitely not at least starting year one as a 6th rounder.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's just like when is Pittsburgh gonna get this figured out? I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever be like actually bad enough that they can even get a high enough draft pick to get that quarterback because they're always,
Yeah.
finishing 9-8 or like just above 500. So they're always in the middle of the pack, missing out on all
I
the
mean,
top
I
quarterback
feel like
prospects.
if they don't make the playoffs this year, and if or they have another bad year, like a down year in Steeler world, and like at least in their level, like I wouldn't be surprised to see Mike Tomlin just kaputs. To be honest with you.
Like if you're in Pittsburgh, it's almost a more successful season to go 4-13 this year instead of
Oh,
9-8.
100%. Imagine Arch Manning going to the Steelers.
Yeah. Like most of the time in Cleveland, we would have killed for a 9-8 season because
Oh
of how the
yeah.
franchise has been. But I mean, for Pittsburgh, it's just like you're stuck in purgatory. You're not making the playoffs and you're not getting any like franchise changing pieces at the top of the draft, which is it makes it tough to succeed. You got to have some of that up and down.
Oh, agreed. 100%.
Yeah. So Rodgers over there, that's an interesting one. I'm curious to see how that one plays out. But uh, don't think there's been any more big stories in the NFL, but college football. Oh, did you see the photo that the Arizona Cardinals posted of Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Yeah, I did.
Dude has been in the weight room,
Dude's jacked.
not skipping tricep day. That's what stood out to
I
me.
always
Like
love
just
people
my
say that. I love people that say that he's a bust. And I'm like, dude, he had the
it's
same
one
number.
year.
He also had same numbers as many Hall of Famers his first year. Like, what do you
He had
expect?
about the same rookie
Uh,
numbers as his dad.
I'm sorry. He has a quarterback who's 5'9", who can't see over the offensive line. Like, what do you expect him to do?
And that quarterback didn't even play every game last year, I don't think.
No.
But I was gonna say
If you
like
don't want him,
my
just send him to the Browns. Okay, we need a receiver help.
that'd be great. My bodybuilding hobby though, the first thing I noticed was like his triceps are insane. Like compared to his shoulder, like that the
Oh
shoulder
yeah.
like is a little more flat and the tricep almost looks more like the shoulder. I was like, either way, like dude looks good. And I'm sure it's gonna translate to being able to be more physical with NFL corners and stuff. But uh last thing I was gonna say about football though, and we can probably wrap the show up here
Yeah.
is Lee Corso they announced is gonna have his last moment of college
Hurrah.
game day.
Yeah.
It's gonna be in Columbus.
Yeah. Which I think it's so fitting. And I know that we've kind of been harsh on College Game Day, just like kind of like their coverage is really bad and they don't have really great analysts. Like, at least the
Not really
analysts,
about the game and the
yeah, it's not really
numbers.
about
It's
the game
about
more. Yeah.
entertainment. It's about jumping
So
in lakes and
I feel like if you're gonna send away, Lee Corso in the way you will, this is the perfect way to do it. It's the place that it started it all. It was this first headgear announcement. He does love a high, obviously he coached in Indiana, but he does love Ohio State and like kind of what they stand for. And obviously him and Kirk are very close. And Herbstreit being a guy that's from Ohio State, like I think it makes sense. Like we all know too. Like I don't see him picking Texas. Like it's just kind of the perfect Cinderella story. I think he's going to pick Ohio State. I think we can all agree on that. Because I think it'd be really weird to finish out not putting the Buckeye head on. Um, but also I think it's a great way to honor his legacy. I mean, this guy, whatever you agree with the last few years or not, but like, dude, the dude knows football. Like, if you just listen to his like, go and listen to something from like 2004, 2005. This dude could really just analyze football. And again, obviously the game became more modern. He got older, but
Started having some of those Joe Biden
yeah.
moments.
Yeah. And so I think, to be honest with you, the difference is like at least he like admitted to like he needs help and he needed to figure something out. And look, it's not gonna be the same. Like even the last couple years, it's just not been the same with him not really being there and not so fast, right? Like maybe I should start
Not
doing
so
that.
fast, my friend.
Yeah, maybe I should do that to you every once in a while. But no. Yeah, so that's kind of like my feelings on it. I think it's going to be sad to see a legend like that go. We've had some other legends pass away and stuff in the last year, and um, it's our childhood. Like Josh,
Mm.
we grow up on Saturday mornings, waking up after a Friday night football game. We wake up Saturday morning. I remember my dad always having donuts from our Schuler's Donuts, which was from our IGA. They have donuts there, and we get donuts, and my dad would always sit down in his big chair and he would turn on College Game Day and you would see Lee Corso and you'd see the whole crew, and there was something about that brought your Saturday to life. And like no matter how rough your day was or your week was at school or wherever, like you knew on Saturday morning you could just have fun and watch football, and after game day watch the 12 o'clock games and then the 3:30 games and then the 7 o'clock games, and like that was your Saturday. And I think for me, that's like one thing, especially living in Europe, I do miss is like being able to do that. And um, so yeah, I guess I say that was like saying like it's tough to see the way things are changing, but also to see your legends leave that you grew up with. But those are just my thoughts of my childhood and what he's meant to me and what the show has meant to me over my life.
Yes, similarly, I can remember growing up and watching College Game Day, especially during like that 2006, 7, 8 area
Yeah,
where like college football I felt like was really at its best. And you guys are going to say, well, that's just because that's when Florida Gators were running the scene. It's like for more reasons than that, it was
yeah,
a great time. Like we haven't really talked about these yet because I don't know what they're going to look like, but college football's talking about the new revenue sharing model that they just announced. They're
yeah.
paying out players as far back as 2015 for I guess losses, and they're t deciding whether this is going to be a 16 team playoff format now, and if they're going to go with like the five automatic qualifiers plus 11, or if they're going to go with like four from the Big Ten, four from the SEC, and whatnot. But it's just the whole sport is changing and totally like not what we grew up watching at that time.
Mhm.
And so Lee Corso is always going to be a part of that good old days, I guess, model or nostalgia that we have with the way that college football used to be. So I agree with a lot of that on my end. And I guess this is a where ESPN now is like, okay, we got an opportunity now to, I guess, rebrand or try to one up or uh, how do they move on exactly?
Yeah.
Because like they have the big noon kickoff over at Fox now that's competing for views with them now too. So it's not like they can just continue to just do what they've always done either. So this is an opportunity now that you got one of your, I guess, big voices stepping down.
Well,
Like, okay, who are
yeah.
we going to get in here? Is it going to be Nick Saban? And what can we
Pat
do to move on
McAfee,
and
yeah.
continue to make the product, something that people want to watch?
I mean, I can tell you that Desmond Howard just needs to go. I mean, the guy has no input on anything. Like in generally, like listening to him is like he's like they need to run this run play because there's openings on the outside of the line. I was like, we all can see that. Like, tell us something that is unique, that is a stat
Yeah,
that's
not adding
unique.
anything in, just saying things that like
Like, just
blatantly
rile
aren't
people up.
true
It's
or
just,
yeah.
drives me nuts. Absolutely drives me nuts.
Favorite Desmond Howard moment is when he tried to throw that cheap shot at CJ Stroud at the Heisman ceremony.
Oh, I loved it. I was just like, CJ was like, I'm not having it. Whatever. Look, Dez is always gonna be Dez. That's whatever it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, and so that's like the football news that's out there. We'll finish, but also I think also news that just dropped today that Deion Sanders is, I guess, is away from the team. I've had a lot of interesting comments on two sides of this. I will not read them on camera because some of them are a little rude. Some people just think that yeah, that's for another
Mm.
off-camera moment, but it's very interesting what people think, and I understand there are some people that think like it's interesting how the timeline has timed up, but we could get that in if things do change in the future. But yeah, I think it was a great episode. Obviously, we're gonna have some big things coming up forward. We're gonna have
Just a couple
obviously,
weeks, we'll be starting
yeah,
off our football previews.
start our previews. So that's gonna be really exciting. Obviously, we'll have more baseball stuff coming up with the All-Star game coming closer, and the Reds sweeping the Guardians, which is gonna probably happen while we're recording this and
A
as this is
second
getting edited.
sweep, my gosh, dude.
Oh, it would feel so good, and I cannot wait for that to happen. So just know that will happen. And man, the one year that I don't bet Josh in this series, we've betted the last few years, and the one time I don't, and this is what happens. This is what happens. But anyways, I hope you guys had an amazing time with us. If you've loved watching this episode on YouTube, go click that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Allows us to see that you're just enjoying what we're talking about. And down below for the comment today, we obviously, Josh did your favorite Nick Chubb moment. I would also add a second question is, do you feel that the media is ruining the core of what sports are supposed to be? Yes or no? Let us know down below or message us. My take is yes, but you all could probably tell that from a mile away. So anyways, I hope that you guys can do that down below. And then also, if you love listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a nice 5-star review and also share it with your friends and family. Once again, enjoy this June heat that's probably going to be coming, the rain, everything that comes with June. Hope you guys enjoy. Have a good weekend. And until next time, we'll see ya.